My name is Emma. I am 11 years old, and last spring, my mom went to Southeast Asia for 5 weeks and left me with a single crumpled $50 bill in my hand. See, you're responsible now, she said with a bright smile, hauling her designer luggage toward the Uber. You're not a little kid anymore. Just use the apps if you need to order food. Okay, responsible. That was her word, not mine. I stared at the bill in my palm. $50. Not a plan, not a babysitter, not even a real goodbye. Just a quick kiss on my forehead that didn't quite land. The sound of suitcase wheels rolling down our driveway in Riverside, California, and the front door closing in my face while she checked her phone one last time. I'll be fine, I said out loud to an empty hallway, as if saying it could make it true, but my hands were shaking. There was no one else in our 3-bedroom rental house, no one who could cook, no one who even knew I had been left here alone in this neighborhood where everyone minded their own business. I tried to pretend this was some kind of challenge I could win, like the survival shows I watched on Discovery Channel. Day one, I told myself, I will prove that I can handle this. I lined up the few boxes of crackers in the pantry, checked the refrigerator that was already half empty except for some expired yogurt and a bottle of ketchup, and shoved my fear down as far as it would go. If my mom thought I was responsible, then maybe she should see what that really looked like. Because as those weeks ticked forward, the $50 in my hand would disappear on a single grocery delivery, the food would run out faster than I could ration it, and the silence in our house would turn into something darker than loneliness. And when they finally came back, what my mom saw inside our home made her whisper, "No, no, this isn't happening. This can't be real." Do you want to know how being left with $50 at 11 turned into the one decision that made my mom regret everything she had done to me? Stay to the end, and you'll see exactly how I made sure she would never forget it. The first problem hit me about 30 minutes after the Uber pulled away. My mom had tossed a shiny Visa gift card on the kitchen counter like that would fix everything. There was just one catch. It wasn't activated, and the number on the back led to an automated system that required information I didn't have. I found that out the hard way, standing at the counter with my phone in my hand, trying to order from DoorDash and watching every transaction get declined over and over. So it was just me, a useless gift card, and $50. Day one, I made it a game. I walked to the 7-Eleven 3 blocks away and bought a loaf of white bread for $2.49, a jar of peanut butter for $4, and a gallon of milk for $3.50. I counted every penny like I'd seen my dad do before he left us 2 years ago. I sliced bread as thin as I could, spread peanut butter so carefully it barely covered the surface, and told myself real survivors made things stretch. I even joked in my head that this would make a good TikTok someday, something viral about independence and Gen Z resilience. By day 3, it stopped being funny. The pantry looked like a before picture in a charity commercial. A dented can of corn I didn't know how to open without cutting myself, a box of stale granola bars with more wrapper than food, and a jar of pickles I hated but would probably have to eat eventually. My stomach growled loud enough to embarrass me even though no one else was there. I tried to distract myself. I turned on Netflix and let random shows play, noise filling the room so I didn't have to hear the house creak at night. I opened my mom's MacBook and stared at her work, emails stacked up like they were more important than anything, messages about meetings and deadlines and team synergy, while her daughter rationed peanut butter 3 miles away. At one point, I grabbed my spiral notebook from school, the one I used for English class, and wrote in big letters at the top of a page, "Evidence." Under it, I scribbled in blue pen, "Left alone at 11, $50. No food plan, no check-ins, 5 weeks." I didn't know exactly what I would do with that, but writing it down made something inside me shift. If they thought I was old enough to be alone, then I was old enough to remember everything, to record everything, to show someone someday how they chose a vacation to Thailand and Vietnam over me. I picked up my iPhone and opened the camera app, switching to video mode. Day 3, I said quietly to the camera, my face looking smaller than I expected on the screen, "I'm still alone. The gift card doesn't work. I ate the last real meal yesterday, leftover pizza I found in the back of the fridge that was probably too old. I paused, swallowing hard against the lump in my throat. If you're seeing this, it means someone finally asked what happened to me. I saved the clip in a folder I titled Spring Break and locked my phone, heart hammering. Part of me hoped nobody would ever see it. Another part of me wanted that video to explode in my mom's face when she came home, to show up on her Instagram feed, where she posted sunset photos with captions like finally free and living my best life. I thought about my best friend, Olivia, and hovered over her name in my contacts. If I texted her, I would have to admit that my mom had left me, that I was hungry, that I wasn't okay. Instead, I sent a message that sounded normal. How's your spring break going? No reply. Maybe she was somewhere at Disneyland eating churros with her family, not even checking her phone. My stomach twisted. By day 5, the hunger felt like a fog around my brain. I started getting dizzy when I stood up too fast from the couch. I found a half-empty box of Cheerios in the back of the cupboard and ate it dry from the bag, trying to make every handful last, my tongue sticking to the roof of my mouth. I opened my notebook again and added another line. Day 5, still no call from mom, not even a text. Then another line, if I disappear, this will prove it wasn't my fault. That was the moment my thinking changed. This wasn't just about surviving until she came back. This was about what would happen to her when people finally realized what she had done. When Child Protective Services and the police and maybe even the news found out that a single mom in Riverside had left her 11-year-old daughter alone for 5 weeks to go find herself in Southeast Asia. On day 7, my body felt weak, but my anger was stronger. I shuffled to the front window and peered out at the street through the dusty blinds. Kids were riding scooters. An Amazon Prime truck rolled past. A jogger with earbuds ran by without looking. Normal lives, normal parents. I looked at our empty driveway where my mom's leased Honda Accord usually sat and whispered, "You chose Thailand over me. Do you know what that's going to cost you when someone finds out?" As if the universe was listening, the doorbell rang. I froze, Cheerio dust still on my fingers. No one ever rang our doorbell, not really. Neighbor kids just knocked if they wanted to play, which they hadn't in years. Packages got dropped on the porch without a ring. The bell rang again, followed by 3 sharp knocks that made my heart jump. My pulse pounded in my ears as I moved toward the door. For a second, I thought about pretending I wasn't home, hiding in my room until whoever it was went away. But another thought cut through my fear. What if this is it? What if this is the moment someone finally sees me? Hand shaking, I reached for the handle and turned the deadbolt my mom had made me promise to keep locked. If you were 11, starving and completely alone in Riverside, California, would you open that door or would you keep pretending everything was fine? I cracked the door open just enough to see who was there. Standing on the porch was a woman in a gray cardigan with a lanyard around her neck that had Riverside Unified School District printed on it. It took me a second to place her without the office behind her. "Hi, Emma," she said gently, her voice warm but concerned. "It's Mrs. Chen from the counseling office. I've been trying to reach your mother. She didn't respond to any of my emails or calls. Can I come in for a moment?" My first instinct was to lie, to say everything was fine, that my mom was just out running errands at Target, that I didn't need anything. But my hand loosened on the door and I stepped back. "Sure," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper, "I guess." She stepped inside and looked around. The silence in the house suddenly felt heavier, louder somehow. The dishes in the sink that I'd stopped washing, the empty counter where mail was piling up, the nearly bare fruit bowl with one brown banana, all became evidence I hadn't meant to stage but had accidentally left out like a crime scene. "Is your mom at work?" she asked, her eyes scanning the living room, clearly expecting someone to appear from the hallway. "She's in Asia," I said, surprising myself with how flat my voice sounded, like I was reading from a script. "For 5 weeks." Her eyebrows shot up above her glasses. 5 weeks. "And who's staying with you, sweetie?" I swallowed hard. This was the line, the moment I could choose to protect them or tell the truth. My fingers curled tighter around the edge of my t-shirt from Old Navy that I'd been wearing for 3 days. "Just me," I admitted, my voice cracking slightly. She said I was old enough, that I was responsible. Something in her face changed like a switch flipping. The polite concern turned into something sharper, more serious, almost frightening in its intensity. She pulled out a chair at our kitchen table and sat down, motioning for me to sit across from her. The chair legs scraped against the tile floor. "Emma, how long have you been alone?" "A week," I whispered, staring at my hands. "Almost 8 days." "Do you have enough food?" "Money." I let out a small, bitter laugh I didn't recognize as my own. "She left me a Visa gift card that doesn't work and $50. I already spent most of it." She stared at me for a long moment. It wasn't the way teachers stare when you forget your homework or talk in class. It was something heavier, like she was trying to count all the ways this was wrong, adding them up in her head like a terrible math problem. "This isn't okay," she said finally, her voice low and controlled. "You know that, right? You know this isn't normal." I shrugged even though my chest ached. She said she needed a break, that I'm mature, that I should be able to handle it. She said she'd been taking care of me alone since Dad left and she deserved this trip. "And how have you been handling it?" Mrs. Chen asked quietly, leaning forward. I wanted to say fine. Wanted to keep pretending like I always did at school when teachers asked if everything was all right at home. But the notebook on the table caught my eye, the word evidence staring back at me in my own handwriting, written in that blue pen I'd stolen from my mom's desk. "I've been hungry," I said instead, my voice barely audible. "And scared. And I've been writing things down, taking videos. Just in case." "Just in case what?" she asked gently. "Just in case something happens to me," I replied quietly, meeting her eyes for the first time. "So nobody can say they didn't know, so there's proof." Silence filled the space between us. For a moment, I hated the silence, but then I realized she wasn't ignoring it. She was feeling it, really feeling the weight of what I'd just said. She leaned forward, her hands clasped together on the table. "Emma, leaving an 11-year-old alone for a week, for 5 weeks with almost no food and no supervision isn't just irresponsible. It's dangerous. It's neglect. There are laws about this in California, serious laws." My heart thudded in my ears, blood rushing so loud I could barely hear. Neglect. Laws. Words that sounded like they belonged in Law and Order episodes, not in my kitchen in Riverside. "What happens if someone finds out?" I asked, my voice suddenly small and childish. "Agencies get involved," she said carefully, choosing each word. "Child Protective Services. There would be an investigation. Your mother could face serious consequences. There could be criminal charges." There it was, the thing I hadn't dared to say out loud, the thing that made my anger twist into something sharper and more powerful. "Consequences," I repeated slowly, testing the word in my mouth. "For what she did to me." She didn't rush to comfort me or tell me I was overreacting like adults usually did. Instead, she nodded. "For what she did to you." My mind raced. I imagined my mom's face when she came home from Bangkok or Hanoi, or wherever she was posting sunset photos, walking into our house to find strangers in our living room, people asking questions she couldn't dodge with a fake smile, and a joke about me being independent. I pictured her seeing my notebook, my video clips, my empty pantry, her carefully curated life falling apart. "Do you want help, Emma?" Mrs. Chen asked quietly, her voice gentle but firm. "Real help, not just groceries delivered to your door. The kind of help that makes sure this never happens again." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to slam the door on all of this, and just wait for my mom to come back in 4 more weeks, and pretend this month never happened. Another part of me, the part that had been writing the word evidence in blue pen, was tired of pretending, tired of being invisible. "Yes," I said finally, my voice stronger now. "But if I say yes, what does that mean for her? What happens to my mom?" "It means she'll have to answer for her choices," she said simply. "It means adults will finally see what you've been going through. It means the state of California takes this very seriously." I looked down at my hands, the nails I'd been biting, then back at her. "Then help me," I said, feeling something shift inside my chest. "I want them to see exactly what she did. I want her to feel what it's like to lose control, to be the one who's powerless." She nodded once firmly, like we'd made a pact. "First, we make sure you're safe," she said, pulling her phone from her cardigan pocket. "Then we make sure the right people hear your story." As she dialed a number, a strange calm settled over me. The fear was still there, buzzing under my skin, but underneath it was something new, something I'd never felt before. A quiet, steady determination. I wasn't just a kid waiting to be rescued anymore. I was the witness, the evidence, the truth that couldn't be ignored. If you were in my place, would you keep protecting your parent, or would you finally let the truth become the weapon they never saw coming?